The silence in that luxury hotel felt different that day. It wasn't the elegant, calculated quietness the guests had grown accustomed to. It was a heavy silence, as if the walls themselves were holding a secret. The hotel owner, a man known only for his coldness and perfectionism, crossed the lobby with firm steps. His expression made it clear that someone was about to be blamed for something. He wasn't exactly the type of millionaire who handed out warmth. To many, it seemed money had hardened him from the inside. To others, he was simply someone who never trusted anyone. And on that day, his distrust had reached its limit. Over the past few days, small items had gone missing from the hotel. A watch forgotten at the spa, a bracelet left at reception, some things from storage. Nothing valuable enough to call the police, but enough to irritate him. When staff mentioned it all started after the new cleaning woman arrived, he didn't think twice. He concluded she was guilty. The woman was plain, discreet, and arrived before everyone else. She always lowered her head when someone spoke to her. She worked so quietly that many didn't even know what her voice sounded like. She was exactly the type of person who, to him, needed to be watched. Without telling anyone, he decided to install hidden cameras in the emptiest hallways, service entrances, and storage areas. Everything monitored directly through his phone. He ordered the maintenance team to do it all quietly, as if he were about to uncover a conspiracy. While the technicians finished the final adjustment, the hotel's revolving door swung open forcefully, revealing his teenage daughter. The contrast between them was striking. She had that restless look of someone who'd never needed to worry about anything beyond her own mood. Headphones hanging around her neck, designer clothes mismatched on purpose, silent rebellion written across her face. She entered the hotel without greeting anyone, carrying an irritation that said everything. She'd fought with her father. "You won't answer me," she said, not even waiting for him to look at her. He kept scrolling on his phone, watching the screen showing footage from the newly installed cameras. "I'm working," he responded, dry as always. The girl rolled her eyes, grabbed the key to the room where she usually stayed, and went upstairs without waiting for permission. Staff exchanged discreet glances. Everyone knew their relationship was tense, almost always sustained by silence or curt orders. Minutes later, the new cleaning woman passed through the lobby, pushing a cleaning cart. She greeted the receptionist with a shy smile, adjusted her simple uniform, and headed for the elevator. It was impressive how she seemed to try to occupy the smallest space possible, as if afraid of disturbing the air around her. The millionaire looked up from his phone for a second, just long enough to see her enter the elevator. His look wasn't one of curiosity or empathy. It was judgment. The elevator closed, and at that exact moment, he clicked on the monitoring app. A small map of the hotel opened, showing the new cameras. He zoomed in on the hallway the cleaning woman had just entered. Nothing much happened, just the quiet routine of someone who works bent over and speaks little. But to him, everything seemed suspicious. While watching the footage, something else caught his attention. His daughter appeared in the same hallway a few minutes later. She walked slowly, with no clear destination, dragging her hand along the wall, bored. Suddenly, she stopped and looked directly at the cleaning woman, who had her back turned, organizing a cart with cleaning products. The girl's expression wasn't ordinary. It wasn't anger. It wasn't contempt. It was something almost curious. She smiled slightly, an enigmatic smile that the father didn't notice, but the camera captured. The cleaning woman turned her face for a moment, and the daughter kept watching, as if there were a hidden interest there. But soon the hallway emptied, and each went her way. The millionaire zoomed in on his phone. Something about that smile bothered him, but he couldn't say what. He just felt for the first time that day that the problem might not be where he thought it was, and that feeling was only beginning. The following morning started like any other at the hotel, but there was something different in the air. Maybe it was the feeling that someone was watching every step. Maybe it was just the invisible weight of the newly installed cameras. Either way, all the staff seemed to work more cautiously, as if the floor had become too fragile to risk sudden movements. The cleaning woman started her day as usual, adjusting her simple uniform, carefully tying back her hair, and reviewing her list of flaws. She was the type of person who did everything calmly, as if she'd learned to live without drawing attention. She never complained, never argued, never asked for favors. It was almost impossible for anyone to remember hearing her voice above a whisper. Meanwhile, the hotel owner's daughter came down the stairs with an empty expression. She seemed to carry a tired boredom, the kind that doesn't come from physical exhaustion, but from lack of direction. She walked unhurried, trailing her fingertips along the hotel's golden handrail, like someone trying to feel something that would fill the emptiness. In the third-floor hallway, the cameras opened their electronic eyes for the first time that morning. The cleaning woman carefully pushed her cart, stopping at each door to check her list. No hurry, no conversation, just the silent rhythm of someone who'd learned the world rarely listens to the humble. The millionaire watched it all on his phone. The screen showed the woman organizing towels with almost meticulous precision. He narrowed his eyes. He found nothing suspicious, and that irritated him even more. It's always like this, he thought. The guilty never leave traces in plain sight. The hallway stayed empty for a few seconds, until his daughter appeared again. This time without headphones, without the mask of indifference. She walked slowly, observing everything around with an almost nostalgic look, as if those hallways held memories no one else saw. The cameras captured the scene clearly. The girl stopped a few steps behind the cleaning woman, watching the delicate movements with which she arranged sheets and folded blankets. It was a curious contrast. A young woman accustomed to luxury watching the humble work of another woman with attention that didn't seem casual. The millionaire frowned, seeing this. "Why is she doing that?" he muttered to himself. The cleaning woman turned her face for a moment and saw the girl there, standing. She smiled, that shy, almost faded smile that carried more kindness than any word. The daughter, however, didn't smile back. Her gaze remained fixed, intense, as if trying to remember something distant. Then she simply turned her back and headed to the elevator, leaving the camera to record one last detail. Her corner-of-the-mouth smile, quick, almost imperceptible. That smile affected the millionaire. He didn't know why, but he felt it meant something, and couldn't put it into words. Downstairs at reception, the team was commenting on the strange atmosphere that day. Some said the owner was more irritable than usual. Others murmured that the cleaning woman didn't seem as calm as she'd always been, and she really wasn't. In an isolated hallway, she leaned her cart against the wall and breathed deeply, like someone trying to gather strength. She had deep, dark circles, and her shoulders seemed to carry more than just cleaning products. While she tried to catch her breath, something caught her attention. An object on the storage room floor, a small picture frame fallen with cracked glass. She picked it up carefully, observing the image inside, an old photo of a child in someone's arms that couldn't be fully identified. But before she could examine it better, she heard footsteps. Startled, she quickly tucked the frame inside a black bag. The storage room camera captured the movement. The millionaire saw everything. "What did she take?" he grumbled, zooming in on the video. The image was blurry, and he couldn't see the object, but he clearly saw when she hid it. His blood boiled. "That's it," he thought. "Now she's given herself away." That same evening, as the hotel began preparing to close some sections, the millionaire's phone vibrated with a notification from the cameras. Movement in the staff room. He clicked immediately, believing he would catch the cleaning woman handling something improper. But when the image opened, it wasn't her, it was his daughter, and she was going through the cleaning woman's locker as if she knew exactly what she was looking for. The millionaire froze, and for the first time, he realized the problem might not be where he so insistently kept looking. The millionaire stood paralyzed before the screen. The staff room appeared lit by a dim bulb, and in the center of the image was his daughter, kneeling before the cleaning woman's locker, as if it were a safe full of answers. She moved carefully, without haste, opening drawers, lifting folded linens, even smelling a piece of fabric as if searching for something specific. Her fingers trembled, It wasn't childish curiosity, it was anxiety or fear. The millionaire zoomed in, his heart racing. "What are you doing there?" he murmured, gripping the phone tightly. With each second, the feeling that he was completely in the dark grew. He was certain his daughter had no reason to go in there, much less to search for something. The daughter pulled out a cloth bag from the back of the locker, opened it slowly, and then she found it. She removed some object wrapped in an old cloth and held it so close to her face the camera couldn't capture it. Her eyes welled up. Her lips trembled. The millionaire stepped back without realizing it. The image was right there before him, but seemed impossible to decipher. Before he could see what it was, the girl put everything back, closed the bag, and placed it in the same spot, exactly as she'd found it. She looked around as if fleeing from something invisible and went to the door. Before leaving, she did something that would send chills down anyone watching. She stopped, pressed her forehead against the wood, and breathed deeply, like someone trying to hold back tears they don't understand, and ran out. The millionaire turned off the monitor and immediately went to the staff room. He walked down the hallway as if the floor were collapsing beneath him. When he opened the door, he found the cleaning woman sleeping quietly, hands crossed over her chest, body exhausted, eyebrows relaxed. She seemed oblivious to everything happening. The room was simple, yet impeccable. The bed made, the uniform folded perfectly, products organized as if on a store shelf. Her austerity was almost moving, but there was something more. Above the small side table taped to the wall were several handwritten papers, phrases, small motivational phrases, scribbled in simple pen. "Keep going, one day at a time. You can do it." The millionaire stood still, observing the simplicity of that life. Everything so different from what he'd imagined when he judged her. "Doesn't seem like someone who would steal anything," he thought for the first time, but his mind immediately returned to his daughter, to her face, to the desperate way she searched the locker. What was she looking for there? And why? He opened the locker slowly, nothing out of place, everything arranged exactly as always, except for one detail. The wrinkled cloth inside the bag seemed to have been moved. But before he could grab the hidden object, he heard a noise in the hallway, hurried footsteps. The door opened. It was his daughter. "Dad," she said, surprised, trying to appear natural. "What are you doing here?" He returned direct. The silence between them was brief but cutting. "I was looking for you." Her voice failed, but she maintained composure as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. He stepped forward. "You came in here earlier." She froze. Her eyes wavered for a second. Then she raised her chin. "That's invasion of privacy, isn't it? Even for me?" "What were you looking for in her locker?" She swallowed hard, looked at the floor, at the locker, then at him. "It was nothing. I saw you going through it. I just got confused about which room." She tried to laugh, but the sound came out weak, trembling. He felt irritation explode in his chest. "Don't lie to me." The daughter took 2 steps back, as if she'd taken an emotional slap. "I didn't do anything wrong," she responded, but without authority in her voice. When she left the room, the hallway camera captured something the father didn't see at that moment. His daughter sending a quick message on her phone. A short phrase, direct, loaded with intention. "Tomorrow I'll do it again." The millionaire didn't see that message, yet, but that silent hallway was about to reveal truths he'd tried to ignore for years, and none of them would be easy to swallow. The following morning began with palpable tension, as if the entire hotel were holding its breath. The millionaire didn't sleep. He spent the night replaying in his head the image of his daughter rifling through the cleaning woman's locker, an image he couldn't fit into any logic. As soon as the clock marked the start of business hours, he called the manager, 2 supervisors, and ordered the cleaning team assembled. No one understood why, but his look made it clear something very serious was about to happen. The cleaning woman, still with tired eyes, appeared in the hallway carrying her cleaning cart. Before she could open her mouth, she was surrounded by distrustful looks. "You come to the meeting room," the manager said, in a tone that wasn't hostile but carried nervousness. The woman obeyed immediately. Not from fear, but because that's how she lived, avoiding conflict, trying to go unnoticed, accepting everything to keep her job. When she entered the room, she felt a chill in her stomach. The millionaire was in the center, with rigid posture, arms crossed, and his phone on the table, like a weapon about to be used. She stood before them, trying to understand what was happening. "I want explanations," the millionaire began. The woman blinked slowly, confused. "Explanations? About what?" "You know about what," he responded with a hardness that cut through the air like a blade. The cleaning woman looked around, trying to find some clue. Her heart raced. "I swear I don't know." "You don't know?" he interrupted, taking 2 steps forward. "Then why were you hiding things in your locker?" The supervisors exchanged uncomfortable looks. The manager seemed to shrink in her chair. The cleaning woman froze. "Hiding? Things?" The millionaire gripped his phone, showed the video on the screen, the part where she stores the black bag in the locker. "This, want to explain?" She paled, breathed deeply, trying to control her trembling hands. "That didn't belong to anyone. It was fallen in storage. I just put it away to see who to speak with later." The millionaire laughed dryly. "A convenient story, don't you think?" She lowered her eyes, wounded. She wasn't used to being treated this way publicly. "I never stole anything," she said, her voice nearly disappearing. "It's always like this," one of the supervisors murmured, as if repeating an obvious truth. The cleaning woman felt her throat tighten. She wanted to speak, explain, say she never touched anything that wasn't hers. But shame locked the words. The door suddenly opened. The millionaire's daughter entered. Her expression changed when she saw the scene. The cleaning woman being pressured by everyone. Something seemed to deeply disturb her, as if a distant memory had been ripped from inside her. "What's happening?" she asked, facing her father. "I'm solving a problem," he responded without taking his eyes off the cleaning woman. "And she's at the center of this problem." The daughter kept looking at the woman, looking at her father, looking at the team. No one noticed, but inside her, something was being shredded. Guilt. "Dad," she said more firmly, "are you sure?" He turned the phone to show the video. The daughter watched in silence, but the millionaire didn't notice a crucial detail. Her gaze faltered the instant she saw her own reflection on the screen, searching for something the father didn't yet know about. "Of course she's lying," the millionaire concluded. The cleaning woman raised her eyes for the first time. It wasn't courage. It was desperation. "Please, I need this job. I never took anything. I would never do that." The millionaire cut her off. "I don't want to hear excuses." The daughter clenched her fists, breathed deeply, and said nothing. The cleaning woman was dismissed from there with a curt gesture. When she left, staff members exchanged glances. An older cook commented quietly, "That woman works harder than anyone. She's always done everything right." Another employee added, "If anyone here is innocent, it's her." Those words reached the daughter's ears and hit deep, but the millionaire ignored everything. To him, distrust was absolute truth. "I'm going to review all the cameras from the early morning," he said, almost like a threat. "And when I find what I need, this will all be over once and for all." The daughter felt a weight in her chest. She knew that when he reviewed, he'd find more than he expected. Much more. She left the room before her father could notice her eyes were welling up. Walking down the hallway, she whispered to herself, "This is going to get worse." And she was right. Because that early morning, the cameras had seen everything, and the truth was about to turn their world upside down. The millionaire entered the private monitoring room he'd hastily set up. An improvised space, with low lighting, 3 connected screens, and his phone synced to the camera system. He shut the door forcefully, as if wanting to lock inside everything that disturbed him. He breathed deeply, cracked his neck, and began. He rewound the footage to the beginning of the early morning, when movement in the hallways decreased and staff had already left. The screen showed the hotel's absolute silence, only the distant sound of air conditioning and the faint glow of automatic hallway lights. He fast-forwarded the video. Nothing. No suspicious movement, no footstep out of place. He rewound, fast-forwarded, rewound again. Time seemed to become an enemy, until at 2:47 a.m. a figure appeared in the staff hallway. The millionaire paused, zoomed in. It was the cleaning woman, but what he saw wasn't what he expected. She walked slowly, with her shoes in hand, to avoid making noise. She went to the staff pantry, opened the old refrigerator, and took out a small container. Then she grabbed a transparent bag hidden behind a cabinet. The millionaire leaned forward, zooming in to see better. The cleaning woman placed inside the bag bread, a piece of fruit, and the container of food she'd just taken. No jewelry, no bracelets, no missing objects. Just food. Why? He thought. The woman walked down the dark hallway and discreetly left the bag at the kitchen door. She knocked lightly, like someone calling a known person. Moments later, one of the cooks appeared, startled. He took the bag, thanked her quietly, and pocketed the fruit as if it were gold. The millionaire went mute. He fast-forwarded the video again. At another time, he found the cleaning woman helping an older employee carry heavy boxes. Then he saw her organizing a cart that wasn't even hers, so that the morning colleague wouldn't arrive overloaded. He saw her placing under a waiter's cart a bottle of water with a note. "You're working too hard. Take care of yourself." The millionaire felt his throat tighten. None of this seemed compatible with the image he'd created of her. And that irritated him even more, because it meant perhaps, just perhaps, he'd started the story from the wrong side. But then, he fast-forwarded the video to when his daughter appeared in the staff room. At 3:18 a.m. the door opened slowly. It was her, alone, barefoot, her face lit only by the faint hallway light. The millionaire swallowed hard. His heart started beating faster. The girl entered the room with soft, almost rehearsed steps. She went straight to the cleaning woman's locker, like someone who'd been there before. She crouched down, opened the door, went through the drawers, took out that same cloth bag, and then, the moment he needed to see, he zoomed in. The daughter unfolded the cloth delicately, as if holding something fragile or sacred, and there it was, a photograph. The millionaire paused the image at the exact moment the daughter brought the photo close to her face. The capture, though blurry, was clear enough. It was his daughter as a baby, and holding her, the cleaning woman. The millionaire froze. His mind filled with questions, loose memories, fragments of a past he himself might have buried. The daughter looked at the photo with an intensity that hurt. Her chin trembled, her eyes filled with tears. Not of sadness, but of recognition. She pressed the photo against her chest, stayed like that for a few seconds. Seconds too long to be just curiosity. Then she put everything back, closed the locker, pressed her forehead against the door as if trying to hold inside her a whirlwind of emotions, and disappeared down the hallway. The millionaire ran his hand over his face as if trying to push away a truth he didn't want to believe. For a moment, the video stayed paused. The room's silence seemed crushing. Then he pressed play. The recording's last image showed a detail he hadn't noticed before. The daughter ran her hand along the hallway wall, as if feeling for childhood memories, and smiled. It wasn't a beautiful smile. It was a broken smile. A smile loaded with old pain and an involuntary reunion with something that seemed to have been ripped from her before its time. The millionaire slowly pushed the phone away. His heavy breathing betrayed what he was trying to deny. It wasn't the cleaning woman hiding something. It was him, or rather, it was his past, and it was about to explode. The millionaire let the phone fall onto the table. The image of his daughter holding that photo seemed stuck in his retina, burning like a silent accusation. For a few seconds he stood motionless. He didn't even blink. It was as if his brain were trying to rebuild a puzzle he himself had destroyed years ago. With hard steps, he left the room and went straight to the only place he knew he'd find answers, his daughter's room. He knocked on the door without much patience. "Open up now!" The door opened slowly. The daughter had red eyes, but tried to hide her face by turning to the side. "What is it?" she asked, without her usual sarcasm. He entered without waiting for permission. "I want to know the truth," he said. "Everything. Now." She crossed her arms, trying to maintain firmness, but her voice failed. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You entered the staff room. Twice. You went through the cleaning woman's locker. And you found that photo." The girl's eyes widened, surprised. "You saw?" "I saw everything," he responded with a weight that didn't fit in his throat. "And now you're going to tell me what's happening." The daughter breathed deeply, looked at him, then at her own trembling hands. "I found the photo by accident," she said quietly. "I bumped into her a few days ago when she dropped a bag in the hallway, and it fell on the floor." The millionaire frowned. "You should have told me." "I tried," she exploded, finally breaking the silence. "But you never listen. You never want to know about anything except work, control, cameras, and suspicions." He fell silent. The accusation hit harder than he'd imagined. "Why did she have that photo?" he insisted. The girl breathed deeply, struggling to say aloud what she'd discovered. "Because she was holding me when I was a baby." The floor seemed to disappear beneath his feet. "That's impossible," he responded in an incredulous whisper. "It's true," she insisted, her voice choked. "I recognized my blanket, that light blue one I had when I was little. That photo was from the old house. I vaguely remember. I remember someone rocking me, calming me when I cried. I always thought it was an invented memory, but it wasn't." The millionaire felt the air disappear from his lungs. For a few moments the hallway seemed to spin. He opened the room door and left without saying anything, like a man trying to escape his own memory. The daughter ran after him. "Dad, don't do this again. Don't run away." But he'd already turned the corner. This time not to the camera room, but to the storage area where the cleaning woman was folding linens. She turned when she heard footsteps, and when she saw his expression, she knew something serious was about to happen. "I want you to tell me the truth," he said, firm. "About what?" she asked, trying to maintain dignity even with her body tense. He breathed deeply. "About this photo." He pulled out his phone and showed the frozen image from the recording, though blurry. The cleaning woman brought her hand to her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears instantly. "I knew this would happen," she murmured, almost voiceless. "So it's true?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "You held my daughter when she was born?" She took a few seconds to manage to speak. "I was her nanny," she finally responded. "Before you got rich, before everything changed." The revelation fell like lightning in the air. "I don't remember you," he admitted with difficulty. The cleaning woman smiled with sadness. "Of course you don't remember. You never looked at anyone back then, except your wife." She breathed deeply. "When you separated, I was let go along with all the staff from the old house. And she gave me this photo the day I left. She said, 'Keep it. One day she might need to remember who loved her when her world was small.'" The daughter, who'd stopped at the door, heard everything. The millionaire ran his hand over his face, trying to process. "Why didn't you ever return the photo?" he asked, almost pleading. The woman looked at him in a way he never expected to receive. "Because I was afraid. Afraid of you. Afraid of being accused, like I was today. Afraid of losing the only job I got after you all left." The daughter stepped forward. "You loved me, didn't you?" she asked, her voice trembling. The cleaning woman couldn't answer. She just nodded as tears streamed down. The millionaire felt something break inside him, something he'd held up for years, like a wall built to feel nothing. He looked at his daughter. She looked back at him, and for the first time in a long while, there was truth there. "I was wrong," he murmured in a thread of voice. But the mistake hadn't yet shown its consequences. Because at that exact moment, an alarm suddenly sounded on the lower floor. A red alert flashed in the hallway. The cleaning woman's eyes widened. The daughter froze, and the millionaire felt his stomach drop. Something much bigger than that conversation was about to happen, and they were all in the wrong place, at the wrong time. The alarm echoed through the hallways like a metallic roar, cutting through the heavy air of the revelation that had just occurred. For a few seconds, no one moved. The millionaire, the cleaning woman, and the daughter stood frozen, as if the world had pressed a pause button. But then, the red light began flashing on the ceiling, and everything collapsed at once. "What's happening?" the daughter asked, trying to hide the tremor in her voice. The cleaning woman looked up and felt her heart race. "This is coming from the ground floor," she said, with experience no one there knew she possessed. "Could be smoke, or a short circuit." The millionaire looked around, trying to understand the situation. "It can't be serious," he said, trying to convince himself. "The hotel went through inspection 2 weeks ago." But before he finished the sentence, thin smoke began coming out through the ventilation grate at the end of the hallway. The daughter stepped back. "Dad!" It was the cleaning woman who took control first. "We need to evacuate the upper floors," she said firmly. "Now." She ran down the hallway, knocking door to door, directing frightened guests coming out amid the smell of burning plastic. The millionaire stood still, observing the calm and precision with which she handled the situation. Two qualities he'd never seen in his own staff, much less in the manager's. The daughter ran to her father, pulling him by the arm. "Let's go! There's smoke coming from the elevator." He blinked as if returning to reality. Right. The alarms sounded increasingly loud, and the hallway gained a greyish haze that stung the eyes. The cleaning woman continued her run through the floors, directing people, guiding entire families to the emergency stairwell. "Follow this way," she said with surprising firmness. "Put cloths over your faces. Keep the children in front." A coughing guest leaned on her, nearly collapsing. She held his arm with a strength that didn't seem to match her thin body. On the ground floor, the smoke was already denser. The origin came from the area near the generator. The electrical panel flickered, shooting sparks. The cleaning woman opened the technical area door and felt strong heat hit her face. A short circuit. That was it. If the fire reached the flammable product storage next door, it would be a tragedy. She grabbed a fire extinguisher, pulled the pin, and began acting with speed and precision, controlling part of the smoke and preventing the flames from spreading, even coughing, even with tears in her eyes. The millionaire arrived shortly after, impressed by what he saw. "How do you know how to do this?" he asked, incredulous. "I worked as a nanny, but also as a caregiver at an institution," she responded between coughs. "There I learned to deal with emergency situations. Now help get everyone out of here." And she went back into the smoke. The daughter, watching everything closely, seemed to see a completely different person from the one her father had accused hours before. A person who, even wounded, humiliated and wronged, was saving lives. But then came the moment that froze the millionaire's blood. "Where's my daughter?" he asked loudly. The girl, who seconds before had been beside him, was no longer there. "She was behind me," he said, panicking. "She was here." Desperation took hold of him as quickly as the smoke took the hallway. He ran, pushing doors, calling her name, searching every crack of light. The hotel's chaos seemed to suffocate him. "No!" he shouted, his voice broken. The cleaning woman heard the shout and left the technical section, even half staggering from the smoke. "What happened?" "My daughter. She's missing. She was here, and I don't know where she went." The cleaning woman didn't hesitate for even a second. "The back hallway," she said. "When the smoke gets thicker, people instinctively try to go back. Maybe she tried to go back up." Without waiting any longer, the woman entered the hallway that was most filled with smoke. A hallway no one in their right mind would enter without equipment. The millionaire tried to stop her. "No, it's too dangerous. You can't see anything in there." But she didn't stop, didn't even slow down. For a few moments, all that could be seen was her shadow disappearing into the smoke, like someone diving into murky waters not knowing if they'll return. The daughter was there, somewhere, and she was going to find her, because that's what she did her entire life, find those who needed her, even when no one ever looked at her the way she deserved. The millionaire stood still, trembling, feeling the weight of his choices crushing his chest. He had accused the wrong woman. He'd been arrogant. He'd been cruel. But now all of that seemed small compared to what really mattered. His daughter was trapped somewhere in that hallway, and the only person who'd entered to save her was precisely the person he'd put under surveillance. Minutes later, minutes that felt like hours, a sound emerged from within the smoke. Footsteps, heavy, dragging. The millionaire approached, his heart nearly leaping from his mouth, and then, emerging from the haze, appeared the cleaning woman, carrying his daughter in her arms. The girl was unconscious but breathing. The millionaire fell to his knees. The cleaning woman staggered, nearly fainting, but managed to deliver the girl into her father's arms before her legs gave out. And in that instant, the hotel cameras recorded the most unexpected scene of all, the millionaire embracing his daughter desperately. The cleaning woman collapsed on the floor, exhausted. And a truth that burned more than the smoke. He had distrusted the only person who saved what he held most precious. The hallway was covered in smoke, and the sound of alarms rang like a hammer inside everyone's head. But for a few seconds, the entire world seemed to stop. The cleaning woman lay on the floor, breathing with difficulty, and in the millionaire's arms was his daughter, alive but unconscious, with her face dirty from dust and heavy eyelids. He didn't know what to do first. Call for help? Lift the woman who risked her own life? Shake his daughter, hoping she would wake up? None of the three things came out. It was as if a knot had been tied inside him, the kind of knot that only forms when guilt weighs more than the lungs can bear. Hey, look at me," he said to his daughter, trembling, touching her face. No response. The cleaning woman tried to stand, leaning on the wall, but her body failed. She coughed hard, with her chest burning, but even so looked at the girl with genuine concern, the same concern she'd carried throughout her childhood, even though no one knew it. Minutes later, employees appeared running, pulling the girl and the cleaning woman to a ventilated area outside the hotel. The cold street air cut through the smoke like a punch. The ambulance arrived quickly. The daughter was placed on the stretcher and given oxygen. Paramedics checked her vitals. The millionaire paced back and forth, with disheveled hair and clothes smelling of smoke, looking like a man who'd seen his own soul threaten to abandon his body. "She'll be fine," one of the paramedics said. "Smoke inhalation, but nothing serious. She'll wake up in minutes." The millionaire brought his hands to his face and crumbled for a moment. His daughter was alive, thanks to that woman. He looked at the cleaning woman. She sat on the ground, with a firefighter's blanket over her shoulders. Despite extreme exhaustion, she still tried to stay upright, as if accustomed to surviving whatever life threw at her. The millionaire approached slowly. He stopped before her, without arrogance, without authority, without the power he'd always carried as a shield, just a man broken by his own injustice. "You saved my daughter," he said, his voice choked. "You saved what I love most in life." The cleaning woman raised her gaze, her eyes still red from the smoke. "I would do it as many times as necessary," she responded, sincere. He closed his eyes as if those words were a stab. He breathed deeply. "Forgive me," he finally said, "for everything, for distrusting you, for humiliating you, for not seeing who you really are." And at that moment, something unexpected happened. The daughter, lying on the stretcher, woke up. She opened her eyes slowly, still dizzy, and saw the cleaning woman before seeing her own father. "You," the girl murmured, her voice weak. "You found me?" The cleaning woman smiled, even exhausted. "Of course I found you. I always found you." The millionaire felt his legs weaken, hearing that. The memory of the old life, when he wasn't yet rich, when he still lived in a simple house, when his wife was still by his side, came back like a fast-forwarded film. And in all those flashes, there was a silent figure holding his daughter, caring for her, calming her crying. That figure was the woman he'd accused. The paramedics asked for space, taking the girl into the ambulance. The millionaire followed, but before entering, he stopped, turned to the cleaning woman and said, "You're coming with us." She immediately shook her head. "No, I just want to get some air. I'm already fine." "You're not," he responded firmly. "And even if you were, you're coming." There was something different in his tone. It wasn't an order. It wasn't an imposition. It was recognition. 2 hours later, at the hospital, with his daughter stabilized and out of any danger, the cleaning woman sat in the waiting room, wearing clothes borrowed from medical staff. The millionaire came out of the room and walked toward her. "My hotel, My employees, my own daughter, all owe you apologies. But he paused, his voice choking, I owe much more. The cleaning woman looked away, embarrassed. I never wanted to cause trouble, never wanted to be a problem. You never caused a problem, he corrected. The problem was me. I only saw the world through the filter of distrust. You saw people. The daughter appeared at the room door, pale but conscious. Dad, she called quietly, let me talk to her. The millionaire stepped aside to give space. The girl walked slowly toward the cleaning woman. She stopped before her and simply hugged her, a long hug, pressed, full of years unlived. The cleaning woman dissolved into silent tears, and the girl did too. The millionaire watched the scene as if seeing two lost parts of the same story finally reunite. When the hug ended, the daughter wiped her face and said, I remember you. Not everything, but I remember. I remembered the voice, the way you touched my hair. I thought it was imagination. The cleaning woman smiled, still crying. I was with you from day one, and I never stopped caring. The millionaire breathed deeply, gathered courage, and approached. I wanted to make amends, at least a little. He extended an envelope. The cleaning woman's eyes widened. I can't accept money. It's not money, he responded. It's a contract. She blinked, confused. Contract? I want to offer you a new position, a dignified position, a much better salary. And I want, he swallowed emotion, for you to manage the employee wellness sector, a position of trust, and only you can do it. The cleaning woman brought her hand to her mouth, surprised. Why, me? The daughter answered instead of her father. Because no one here cared for people like you care. The millionaire added, and because you cared for my daughter when no one else did, including me. The cleaning woman breathed deeply, trying to absorb that. She never imagined that one day she'd be recognized by the man who judged, humiliated, and condemned her without hearing her side. She accepted the contract with trembling hands. The millionaire smiled, perhaps for the first time in a long while. And in that instant, the hospital camera, discreetly positioned in the hallway, recorded everything. The cleaning woman being supported by the daughter of the man who suspected her, and the millionaire, now different, learning to be someone who looks beyond appearances. And so, without realizing it, they were all being filmed not by surveillance cameras, but by a moment that would never be erased from any of their memories. The days following the hotel incident were different from anything those people had ever experienced, not because of the smoke, the scare, or the material damage, but because of the silent change that spread like a new wind through the hallways. The millionaire, previously known for his rigid temperament and coldness with employees, now walked those same hallways with a different look. He greeted people, he thanked them, he listened, and above all, he actually seemed to see. Employees noticed this on the first day after returning. It wasn't the theatrical change of someone trying to clean their own image. It was the tired change of someone who finally understood that controlling everything isn't the same as caring for someone. At the center of all this was the cleaning woman, now with a new uniform, a different badge, and a calm that didn't come from the position but from the feeling that finally her existence was seen. Her new job in the employee wellness sector began with her doing exactly what she'd always done, but now with authority, listening, welcoming, helping. Previously invisible employees began to be noticed. The older ones received ergonomic chairs, the young ones gained encouragement to study, and the kitchen, which lived with tight stock, got a new refrigerator, not for luxury but for dignity. The millionaire's daughter visited the hotel almost every day after school. She sat with the cleaning woman, talked, asked about childhood, about stories that life had erased from her memory. The connection between them was too natural to need explanation, and the millionaire watched, with guilt, with gratitude, with regret, but also with relief, because despite the mistake, he'd gotten a second chance, and not everyone has that luck. On a quiet afternoon, the three met in the hotel garden. where some plants still carried the smell of smoke from the previous week. The cleaning woman was finishing watering a pot. The daughter appeared with juice in hand, and the millionaire approached slowly, like someone who still doesn't quite know how to occupy that space without unbalancing everything around. "Can I talk with you both?" he asked. Both nodded. "I've been thinking about everything," he began, his voice calm but heavy. "The truth is, I spent years looking for problems where there were none. I spent years trying to protect myself from everything and everyone. And in the end, I was the one who put my own family at risk by not trusting anyone." The cleaning woman smiled kindly, that same shy smile he'd ignored so many times. "We all make mistakes," she said. "What matters is what we do after the mistake." He breathed deeply. "I should have seen who you were much sooner, not just now." The daughter added, "Dad, sometimes we only see people when something bad happens. But there are people who care for us even when we're not looking. She was one of them." The cleaning woman lowered her eyes, moved. There, in that simple garden, truth took the form of something greater than regret. It took the form of gratitude. Gratitude for someone who never asked for anything, but offered everything. And then came the scene no one expected. The millionaire stood from his chair and made a gesture no hotel employee had seen in his life. He bowed slightly before the cleaning woman, a small gesture, but enormous, a silent request for forgiveness. The cleaning woman stood immediately, touched his shoulder and said, "You've already apologized in the hardest way, by changing. That's what really matters." The millionaire breathed deeply, as if that moment were capable of undoing years of accumulated bitterness. And for the first time, the three smiled together, not because the past had been resolved, but because finally each had found their place in each other's story. The photo that started all the confusion was now in a frame on the main desk in the millionaire's office, not as evidence, not as a memory of pain, but as a symbol that not always the one being watched is the one who should be observed, a symbol that true goodness doesn't shout, it whispers, and a symbol that sometimes the person we judge most is precisely the only one who truly saw us. Before the end of business hours, the daughter held the cleaning woman's hand and said, "Thank you for taking care of me when I was little, and for saving me now." The woman smiled with tears in her eyes. "I'll always care for you, even when you don't notice." And so, in silence, the day ended. A day that wouldn't be remembered for the alarms, the smoke, or the chaos, but for redemption, for truth, for the courage to ask forgiveness, and for the strength to forgive. If this story touched you in any way, leave here in the comments. What would you have done in his place? Your opinion enriches the channel and helps more people reflect on the choices they make in life. Take the opportunity to subscribe, leave your like and share so more people can discover stories like this. It really helps the channel grow and continue bringing content that touches and transforms. Thank you for watching.